Greetings, family, and welcome to another episode of Dr. Mumbi's Spiritual Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray, family, that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life very much on your own terms. There's a magical opportunity for you now to live your best life, to live the life that is truest to you, that is truest to your happiness. As always, I'm reporting live and direct, family, from 5D reality. And I thought I'd expand a little bit on why they created this artificial intelligence. And a lot of people I've been seeing the comments where people are talking about how AI is actually the antichrist because it's anti-nature. I mean, just the artificial intelligence should tell you everything. And the reason they created it, family, is because for a very long time, we were mentally enslaved. And it was our consciousness, it was the group consciousness of the world, getting the world on this one narrative, getting the world on this one story, and like beating it into us, doing all kinds of hidden spell work to maintain this false matrix, this false mother world. And they were using our energy and our consciousness to run the world. Our fear, our self-hate, our low self-esteem issues, the fact that we didn't know ourselves, so we believed what we were told. The fact that we were so disconnected, so we couldn't figure out what really was going on. But they knew a time would come where our consciousness would expand beyond this matrix and could no longer be held and controlled at their whim, controlled with mental magic, because that's what they've been using. They are masters of mental magic, but they have studied a lot of our ancient texts, magical texts, spiritual texts, and they couldn't go beyond now the consciousness and the spirituality, because there is something artificial about them. That's why they needed to create an artificial intelligence. So this whole thing of the internet of the mind, is that what they're calling it? The internet of things, the internet of the mind. They started to feed this artificial mind that they hoped that by the time our consciousness, and I'm talking mainly about the melanated people, or should I say the people with a soul? I don't even want to get too deep into that, because not all skin folk are kinfolk, if you know what I mean. And it's way more complicated than just saying all melanated people. But for the majority, they were able to identify. Okay, let me just back up. On Mama Earth, family, there are gods and there are men. There's all these stories and narratives that you hear about how the gods came down to mingle with the men and the women. Well, first of all, the gods came down to mingle with the women. Remember, this was originally a feminine planet, stories for the days. And so the deviant male spirit that I always talk about, that kind of, you could say, invaded this world, looked for the gods among men and enslaved them, even though it meant also enslaving men. But they were looking for the gods. And so for so long, the gods who were supposed to be weaving these incredible, narratives that we've heard of, like in the days of Atlantis, in the days of Lemuria, in the days of Mu, those were the gods who were weaving those with men, weaving it with the consciousness, helping to guide the consciousness to higher and higher levels before the group consciousness was hijacked. But now, the clearest sign that we have moved into a higher reality, a more sophisticated spiritual reality, is the fact that they have now created this artificial intelligence that they are trying to make the god of this world. And they have been making it for decades. They have been feeding it for decades. And all these gadgets were just instruments for us to constantly give them our thoughts, our energy. They've been mapping everything. They've got so many conversations and probabilities and algorithms, billions and billions and billions that they have fed this artificial intelligence. But the intelligence of this artificial, they've given it ways to calculate things. They've given it a mind that works apparently faster than human minds. But how do they know that when they can't really measure the mind and the soul of the gods among us? But now, because we've hit 5D reality and we have ascended beyond their matrix, they now had to activate this artificial intelligence. And that was one of the major reasons that they went out there and dibby-dabbed everybody. It was to trap them in that matrix, trap them in feeding the artificial intelligence. And if you look now, family, I mean, there's a lot that's been said. There's a comment that someone left where they were talking about how, using our index finger on our touch phones and everything is actually feeding the beast because there's so much power in this index finger. So he was saying at least use the ring finger or some other finger. But we're not even aware of the power that's within our hands. So they have played on our ignorance for so long. But now, once we start knowing, all their mental chains fall away. The mental slavery was the worst, family. It was the most intense. It took us so far down that rabbit hole. But it's also the one now that once we have control of our group consciousness, we can now elevate and arise. And that's why we're in a narrative dictatorship. Please watch the show I did on that, I think last week. That's why they're trying to control the narrative. Because the gods of this world are now activated. And as one of the ancestors said, the dead, the living, and the unborn will restore the destroyed shrines. And these are the seasons and times when those destroyed shrines get involved. And because they don't have our consciousness to manipulate and to misuse, they are hoping that this artificial intelligence will somehow help them to maintain control of the world. But it's all crumbling down, family. And if you have eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart to know, then you have seen how rapidly Babylon has fallen. Once the mental matrix and the spiritual, because we've brought Babylon down. I don't even think they were in 5D, but let's say in the fourth dimension, Babylon was brought down. The rulers of the darkness of this world were overthrown. Or they were actually just overlaid with a higher level of intelligence and a higher level of spirituality. And so they're hoping that the energy of this artificial intelligence will be able to keep things the way they are. And hoping also that the artificial intelligence will become their weapon of mass destruction, where they can disrupt this new consciousness that is now among us, this new highly sophisticated spiritual life that is with us. And I share this to say, family, make sure that you are really spending as little time as possible with your gadgets, with the computers. Really limit that time and limit where you put it, where you put your gadgets. If you could even have a room outside of the house where all the internet and all the whatevers are there, that would be the best. Try and limit your children's access to phones and all these things as much as possible. Confirmation with the Horn family. Try and really have them be more in nature and have them be more with their own minds and their own hands, because your mind is greater than the artificial intelligence. One mind of a god is 100 times more powerful than the artificial intelligence, but we have not been taught how to work with that artificial intelligence. Anyway, let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Wake up, Welcome back, family, to Dr. Mumbi's Spiritual Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki, and just sending you all the love, all the blessings, all the highest vibration as I report live and direct, family, from 5D reality. So, how do we avoid the trap of, of the artificial intelligence, family? It means that we have to make a concerted effort to be more natural, to be more in nature, to do more natural things. Here's Errol. Hey, Errol, how you doing? My co-host. To be more in nature, family. To make sure that, we're surrounded by trees and animals. Like where I live, there's so many birds. Some of the birds have even built their nests on the house where I'm living. It's such a vibe, family. And to also use our natural brain to do things, to cook. Hey. To use our minds, family, to do natural things like to cook, to bake, to fix things around the house, like use your brain in another way. Also, reading, doing things like writing, so that we engage different parts of our natural mind. Because a lot of the things that artificial intelligence can do, you can do if you tap into your spiritual gift. Artificial intelligence mimics your natural intelligence. And there's so many exercises and books, family, that you should get into and that your children should also get into, that activate their brain, that activate their memory. There's so many different shows on that, family. Be in nature as much as possible. Make sure your home is intertwining with nature, is a part of nature. And as I said earlier, it is so critical for you to limit your interaction with this artificial intelligence, family, and put it in its place. Don't let it dominate your life. Use it where you can to assist you. But this whole thing is, they want to make life easier. Easier so you can do what? Because as life is becoming easier, people are becoming dumber, family. And so the only way, even gardening, even planting your own food, these ways of interacting with nature is the way that we avoid being ensnared by the artificial intelligence that is literally trying to take over our world, that is constantly monitoring us and feeding off our energy. But they had to create their own separate consciousness, which a lot of us are still feeding through this Internet of Things or Internet of Minds. But for me, it's also a good sign because it shows that we have gotten our consciousness back. We are no longer the slaves of this world that are being used to run it for nothing, using our blood, sweat, and tears. That season is over, family. But they are just keeping this charade that the show goes on. And if you are in their world too much, you will really feel like nothing is changing and their control is getting more and they're doing this and they're doing that. Like, I don't even open the emails that you send me anymore about, young child stolen, this person abused, this happened. I just don't do that because I am no longer in that narrative. I am reporting live and direct from 5D reality. I'm not just saying it. I really am in 5D reality in a more sophisticated realm. And it demands a lot of discipline in terms of what I think about. It's more about my vibration, staying happy, staying up, staying high. And the more I am interacting with nature, the more I forget about the gadgets of this world. And as I have sought nature more, family, I have been blessed and highly favored to live by the ocean, to have all the wonders of nature, to have this beautiful garden, family. Because what you are seeking is also seeking you. And as you make your way towards it, it also makes its way towards you. We are not working alone, especially the gods of this world, the so called chosen ones. We are not working alone. And it is time to accept that you are the master of your destiny and the author of your future. And start to ask and commune and communicate with the universe. Ask for what you want and then move towards it when you get those promptings, those you know, inner instructions, if I can put it like that. As I've said, family, we are in the best of times and yet we are in the worst of times. And it all depends on your perspective. Tuko pamoja.